convince me otherwise that Sexyy Red is not an industry plant that was put here to help finalize the destroying of the black woman image. They was already had us under attack, and she was here to just finalize the process. The way they trying to force her on us is just crazy. Like, I wanted to go see Drake, but once I found out Drake had her opening for him, absolutely not. Absolutely not am I going to support anything that thing is behind. I'm not supporting it, right? This is the reason why it's time to separate. It's time to separate as black women. Because ain't no way I'm about to be associated with that as Suki Stankyama. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. This is the photo that I posted. This is what I said. I can't protect these girls. If this is what they want to do, this is what they want to do.
But I saw so many of our young sisters in head bonnets, scarves, slippers, pajamas, blankets wrapped around them, and this is how they're showing up to the airport. And the question that I'm having to you, my sweet babies, when did we lose pride in representing ourselves? When did we step away of let me make sure I'm presentable when I leave my home? Let me make sure I'm representing the family I created so that if I'm out in the street, I look like I have pride in myself. And I'm not saying no full face of makeup. I'm not saying no full front lace frontal. I'm not saying none of that. All I'm saying is, could you please comb your hair? And if you don't want to comb your hair, they got enough shit out here now, baby, where you can style yourself up and look like you have pride. I'm not saying you don't have pride, but the representation that you're showing, someone would have to ask you to know that you
had it. So, Sexyy Red is a St. Louis rapper who just recently started blowing up on TikTok after releasing numerous songs that contain overtly sexual lyrics and very catchy beats. She's young, turned, making fun music, and is currently what everyone over the age of 35 is having an aneurysm about. And that's because of our good old family member within the black community that can't cook at all, but still tries to bring plates to the cookout that nobody touches or ends up being face down in a trash can, called respectability politics. Now, because Sexyy Red makes the kind of music that she makes, she's being blamed for, hold on. Demonizing the black woman image and why black women are over-sexualized and hypersexualized in America. Now, if that seems like the dumbest thing you've ever heard, well, because it is the dumbest thing you've ever heard. But I want to get into why this is all happening. Where is all this criticism coming from? How deep-rooted is it? And why we as black people can't decide to separate from other black people just because one black woman said that she left Pound Town. So let's go on a journey and find out what's really going on behind this mess. And also figure out if dreadheads really do it the best.
It's sexy. I don't have sex. Cover my clothes, cover my toes, cover my head, cover my mouth. When a man's speaking, I'm asexual. My concepts are not conceptual. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's time I'll eat some vegetables. A man in a three-piece suit sitting on a sectional. Schedules, testicles, variations of varying variables. I'm a Moorish, Egyptian, Hebrew, Israelite. Native American, waiting for Anunnaki spaceships to take me to paradise. Life is like a paradise. Watch for the snake eyes. Education, meditation, revelation, elevation, reparation, dedication, vacation, menstruation, situation, combination, complications.
Hi, my name is Think Peace Tribe, and I was on my local park a few days ago, and I had to remind myself to take in a fresh air while I still can, because I know that in 2 to 5 years, that park is going to turn into a Walmart Supercenter with a 2,000 car parking lot attached to it. Anyways, I'm starting a new life, new beginnings, because I recently just transferred to Morehouse, and did you know that for a majority of your classes, you have to pay out of pocket for your textbooks to gain access to your assignments on top of the $50K of your tuition you're already paying as a student? Yeah. All I can say is whoever came up with that shit and whoever is the CEO at McGraw-Hill specifically needs to run my fade immediately. But it isn't all bad, because I'm taking an intro to sociology class. So that means we listen to Fiona Apple and Mitski while learning about critical race theory and intersectional feminism. And honestly, me paying out of pocket for textbooks to gain access to my assignments isn't a new thing, and it just shows me that some things in life will never change. For example, America's two-party system. Republicans denying climate change even though they see the same air quality alerts and bipolar weather changes that we do. And last but not least, Zoro from One Piece always being seen beating up on minorities. You know, some things will never change. And one of those things is how y'all grown-ass adults will get on the internet and over-criticize femme rappers to hell and back. But before we move on, I want to be self-aware for a minute and recognize that while I think people blaming Sexyy Red for the stereotypes and demonization of the black woman image is fucking stupid, I'm obviously not a black woman and I'll never know the experiences or what it's like to be a black woman in America. However, because I'm in proximity and in community with black people, and more specifically black women, shout out my mom, sister, cousins, aunties, and grandmas, I think I can drop some bars on why Sexyy Red is, unsurprisingly, not the reason why black women are hypersexualized. And I really want to get into this by talking about Shaderoom adults and the exceptional Negro complex that they have. Now when I say Shaderoom adults, I mean this specific type of black person that you can find in the comment section of the Shaderoom being A, the most bigoted person alive, B, the most dumbest person alive, or C, both at the exact same time. If you want some examples, you can go on the first ever video I said that I made for the channel back in 2021 and see what I'm talking about. But one thing I will never do is recommend y'all to actually go to their page and read the comments for yourself. Absolutely not. I genuinely believe that computer and media literacy should be taught in schools, and some of the first lessons that need to be taught is how to block the shade room on every social media platform to keep your mental sanity in check. But anyways, when you see these Shaderoom adults always blaming individual black people and black celebrities for why these stereotypes exist, but they never talk about the systems that actually created these stereotypes in the first place, there's a few reasons for that. One of them being they just hate black women, because this didn't start with Sexyy Red. I mean, we've seen the same criticisms being thrown at Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and so forth. And I say this because misogynoir is a thing, and also peep how Rick Ross can say, put Molly on her champagne, she ain't know, and nobody got shit to say about that. But when black femme rappers rap about being ghetto or their WAP, that's when all the think pieces come about. Pun intended. The second reason is what is discussed in this book called The Exceptional Negro by Tracy D. O'Neill, where she states,
exceptional Negroes are often well educated, always articulate, cultured, and able to move seamlessly, effortlessly in white business, political, and social circles. Exceptional Negroes do not fit the stereotypical criminal, thug, welfare queen, baby mama, baby daddy, and myriad other negative labels usually associated with black folks. Hence, we are deemed exceptional.
And this complex is an offshoot of what people like FD Signifier talk about when they mention light T conservatism in the black community, and what I've talked about in the past in my video about black conservatives as well. One of the main ways that they become this way comes from that mentality in middle to upper class black homes, which goes as follows.
Even highly educated individuals like my parents know that a strong GPA, an elite college degree, and an impressive resume would not serve as the ticket to the American dream, where black folks have equal opportunities for jobs and the, quote, pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, unquote, that the Declaration of Independence boldly proclaims. Indeed, my parents knew that if their black children were to have a real shot at the, quote unquote, dream in black America, we could not merely be competitive academically, we had to be twice as good to get half as far professionally as our white counterparts.
And this type of talk in black homes pushes these respectability politics to achieve the American dream, which more often than not leads to separatism within the black community because they can't and will not be those kind of black people. And we see the same things happening when people talking about Sexyy Red, because you have some black people advocating for separation in the black community just because of the music that Sexyy Red makes. By the way, just want to mention how we can see more examples of this than just Sexyy Red, because look at me for example. I'm a black man who be wearing this red bonnet and pajamas when I go to Aldi or American Deli. And these Shaderoom adults would look at me and say damn near the same things that they say about Sexyy Red. You know, the typical shit. They tell me that I'm emasculating the black male image, what's wrong with our generation and people today, and why we're getting nowhere as a people. Because I stated from ratchet politics, moving beyond black women's bodies.
Respectability politics is the practice of adopting the cultural practices and morals of the dominant group to counter the negative imagines of the subordinate group.
Now, while I've definitely said this before and I have problems with Jay-Z, the billionaire capitalist who uses anti-capitalist black revolutionaries in his work to push his black capitalist message even further, the funny thing is that they forget that light nigga, dark nigga, faux nigga, real nigga, rich nigga, poor nigga, house nigga, field nigga, still nigga, still nigga. Like saying that Sexyy Red is demonizing the black woman image and in the same breath calling for the separation of quote hood black people in our community is unsurprisingly not gonna help out black people as a whole whatsoever. Cause you're doing all this and the gag is it never fucking works. Like people after traditional slavery ended, black people were on that respectability timer for years. Like you have Booker T. Washington fucking thinking that if black people got industrial and farming skills that we'd be fully respected by white people and accepted into society. You had W.E.B. Du Bois creating the talented 10th where only a select few black people need to become the best of the best so that they can come back into the community and help out. But that didn't stop the Birth of a Nation from coming out. It didn't stop minstrel shows from becoming the #1 entertainment form in America during the 19th and 20th century. And in Booker T. Washington's case, in W.B. Du Bois' case, black people having industrial and farming skills didn't stop the KKK from forming. And W.B. Du Bois realized that the talented 10th was a stupid idea and took back what he said years later. And tying this back to Sexyy Red, I think that it's so disingenuous to say that black performers and individual black people are the reason why we as a people aren't up right now. Cause one, y'all had Trina, Foxy Brown, Lil Kim, and other artists like Sexyy Red, and even Suki. So this isn't a new concept. And two, you act like people outside the community need a reason to hate us.
Now, I definitely think that there are things to be concerned about in modern music and how it glorifies violence and sensationalizes sex work without considering how difficult and perilous real-life sex work is. And there are nefarious racist and capitalistic forces at play and how the music is amplified and sold to not just black people, but white people, and how this is exploitative. But this isn't new. In fact, it's the exact same problems from when we were kids. The things that I wish the older generation was more focused on, things that we need to be more focused on if we really care about the music and the children. Because pointing the finger at the youth and their art is putting the focus of any genuine concern on the wrong thing.
Like I promise you, they're not gonna see Sexyy Red and all of a sudden start thinking of black people in a negative light. Cause they was gonna do that shit regardless. They think these ways about us and create these stereotypes about us to push the white supremacy agenda. And originally, they didn't need a reason to do it, they just did. And sure, they tried to create arguments on why it needed to happen through race science and eugenics. But when you strip back all that bullshit and look at it for what it truly is, you'll see that it was all nonsensical, made up, and not based in reality. Because in reality, they didn't give a fuck. And we're gonna enslave us and create all these stereotypes about us regardless. We can see the same things happen in anime, for example. Because why the fuck does Sister Chrome look like this in The Promised Neverland, which came out in 2019? Meanwhile, shows like Cowboy Bebop were depicting black people like this in 1998. Like, they got Google over there. They could have looked up a myriad of tutorials on how to draw black people correctly if they really wanted to. But they didn't, because they didn't give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, white supremacy will always be the common denominator for why these stereotypes and anti-black narratives about us exist. But y'all seem to forget that when you see people like Sexyy Red and go straight to blaming her for how black women are viewed today, when these problems go so much deeper than an artist who just started popping because her songs just started to get notoriety on TikTok. And I can't put an emphasis enough on how she just started popping. And niggas are bringing up that BS argument of, oh, we need to empower better artists. I don't want my kids listening to this. Where they love to act like artists like Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole are some of the biggest artists in the game right now. And if you don't want your kids listening to it, you can always turn it off. Because I get it. I mean, if my kid were listening to Hobson or Ed Sheeran, I wouldn't want that shit to be played in my house either. Also, it'd be hilarious to see y'all prop up these politically conscious femme rap artists like a no-name instead of a Sexyy Red, when in reality, these politically conscious femme rappers rap about the same shit that Sexyy Red be talking about sometimes. They just hide it behind clever wordplay and double entendres.
So I'm gonna show my cheeks, and I also am going to be reading these books. The two aren't mutually exclusive. You can be smart and want to shake that ass.
But like I said before, these problems go so much deeper than an artist who just started to get notoriety a few months ago. And I think I know why y'all can't recognize how deep-rooted these issues really are, because ultimately, America has a problem. Bum 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 bum. American Psycho. Wait, what do you mean it's not available in my country? The fuck? Speaking of America having problems, have you ever tried looking up a movie that's on your long watch list on Letterboxd only to see that it's either A, not available in your country, or B, not on the subscription service that you're already paying an arm and a leg for? Well, thankfully, the sponsor of today's video can help out with that. Because Atlas VPN and I are here to help show you how to watch your favorite shows while being safe on the internet at the same time. So with Atlas VPN, you can turn on the VPN through their homepage, decide which country you want the internet to think you're in, and gain access to media that's not available in your country. But that's not all. They also have extra layers of security through a safe browser that allows you to stop third-party trafficking, ads, malicious websites, and a data breach monitor that tells you whether or not your email address and other data have been exposed, which will protect all of your devices if you have Atlas VPN installed on them. And if you're like Think Peace Tribe or any Gen Z Twitter user who has the worst digital footprint known to man, then Atlas VPN will work for you. Cause I've seen what you hooligans get up to when it comes to Rule 34, Overwatch, and Pixar moms. Trust me, I'm familiar with your game. So if you want to surf the web without getting your activity tracked, and if you want to help Think Peace Tribe get the money to pay for his textbooks to gain access to his assignments, then click the link in the description down below to get a 3-year subscription for Atlas VPN for only $1.83 per month, plus 3 months extra and a 30-day money-back guarantee today. That's right, folks. You can get the biggest and most affordable VPN deal on the market with a 3-year subscription for Atlas VPN for only $1.83 per month, plus 3 months extra and a 30-day money-back guarantee through clicking the link in the description down below. So support the channel and protect yourself on the internet with Atlas VPN.
Now go ahead and send me money, yeah! Money, cash.
Bro, they need to put cocaine back in fucking Coca-Cola cans. And hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. So like I was saying, America has a problem. Bum 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 Stop! No, we literally did this the first time already. I'm not doing it again. Alright, relax on that. Just anyways, so remember when I said that Shaderoom adults always talk about how individuals contribute to why these stereotypes exist and never talk about the systems that created these stereotypes in the first place? Well, what if I told you that to no one's surprise, they've been conditioned to be this way because of the American education system, the American dream, and capitalism. Yeah, so if you're in the small pool of viewers in this channel who don't live in America, this country loves to push individualism through capitalism so hard to the point where you forego community and start looking at things from an individual lens instead of a systemic lens. And honestly, this shit has hit the black community harder than the planes that crashed into the Twin Towers. And with us specifically, they've done this through miseducation, systemic oppression, and through making other marginalized groups that aren't black feed into the modern minority myth to push anti-blackness. Because I mean, if you don't know how they teach black history in schools, it goes as follows. Rosa sat, MLK had a dream, Malcolm X was an evil man, and Barack said yes we can. Like, when it comes to whitewashing history, whitewashing important black figures and leaving out context on people like Christopher Columbus and Ronald Reagan, the American education system wins the gold medal and goes triple platinum with no features in that shit. And this has unfortunately led to many people not being able to recognize how white supremacy and anti-blackness are the common denominator behind everything wrong with this country and why we're still being held back as a people to this day. I've talked about this before in my video about affirmative action, but we can see what I'm talking about really pop out with the whole modern minority myth. Cause why were immigration restrictions so tight that only rich Indian people who benefited from the Indian caste system gaining entry into America? Why are Asian Americans stereotyped with always being the smartest and intelligent people to the point where if you're Asian and aren't the brightest in the room, people question if you're really Asian or not? It's because the government wanted to create more division amongst minority groups and further the white supremacy agenda by pushing assimilation through anti-blackness. And we can see this in more general things around this country, like, you know why everyone in America doesn't have universal healthcare? It's because the government didn't want black people to have access to healthcare. You know why we don't have good mass transit, why there are highways and interstates that divide cities, why we don't have free tuition, why schools aren't fully funded, why there's a decrease in the amount of public pools and other third places in America. I think you get the point. It's because white supremacy and anti-blackness are the gears that turn this country round and round. And this goes back to Sexyy Red because the problems that y'all claim to have with her aren't really with her. You have a problem with white supremacy, but you're not focusing on it. You say that she's perpetuating the stereotypes that bring us down, and some of y'all are even blaming her for those stereotypes still existing when, like I said before, this is white supremacy's fault, but you're blaming the individual instead of blaming the systems that created these stereotypes from the jump. Going back to ratchet politics, moving beyond black women's bodies.
Capitalism necessitates the controlling images that shape the racist and sexist stereotypes that blacks justify their employment in low-wage or service work. Black men, as lazy and uneducated, are labeled as brutes that are solely good for menial labor. Cleaver, 1968. Black women, conversely, as the mammy, Sapphire, Jezebel, and need to be controlled through the public policy known as PORA, penalize these women for being resource poor. We are all too aware of black women's bodies, as we inhabit these bodies ourselves or view them in the world around us. Much more difficult, however, is the ability to see how capitalism, heteropatriarchy, and white supremacy has shaped the lens we use to view black women's bodies. We view the byproduct of these structures, the markings of these unjust societal configurations, but yet they remain invisible to the naked eye. Instead, we see black women's bodies and fail to fully view these bodies are part and parcel of America's creation story.
Like when y'all claim that Sexyy Red is feeding into the Jezebel stereotype, that's not what she's doing at all. To give a quick summary, the Jezebel stereotype is looking at black women as inherently sexual deviant beings and creatures. So sexual violence can't happen to them because apparently that's just how they act and who they are. This was then used to make it okay and legal to grade black women. So when you see Sexyy Red or anyone else like her taking that control back and liberating herself, she's not feeding into the Jezebel stereotype. She's actually taking her autonomy back and deciding to control her own image and how she decides to move in life. And you can't control her. You're not gonna tell her how she should have decorum and tone it down. Cause you look back and she isn't putting up a front. She's always been like this. She doesn't give a fuck. And honestly, that's what I love about her. It's honestly what I love about any black person that decides to ditch these respectability standards of living and decides to be their true and authentic black selves. But one, y'all don't like to see that because some of y'all hate to see black women deciding that nobody's gonna control what they say and do. And two, you've been conditioned to forgo community and your own people for individualism. This is also why Sexyy Red can get on someone like Lil Yachty's podcast, get asked what's the craziest thing that happened to you, she responds with how she was sexually assaulted, and then they proceed to change the subject entirely and laugh in her face about what she just told them. There was no consoling, no asking if she's okay, they just didn't give a fuck. And that's because people see black women, but they don't really see black women as more than their bodies, as more than what they put out on the surface. But they'll be quick to label someone like Sexyy Red as the real problem within the black community. Which is wild, cause last time I checked, Sexyy Red or any other rapper that decides to rap about their WAP isn't the reason why mass incarceration exists. Why Thomas Sankara was killed in a coup after fighting against neocolonialism in Burkina Faso. Why Cop City is currently trying to be built in Atlanta. Why a neo-Nazi went to an HBCU called Edward Waters down in Florida that I've been to multiple times to kill black people before going to a Dollar General and murdering 3 black people who didn't do anything but exist while being black. You know, like actual things that affect black people as a whole. We shouldn't be worrying about how we're viewed in society or viewed by others outside the community, because they have shown us time and time and time again that they don't care about us and they're going to think negatively about us even if we don't wear bonnets while grocery shopping, or even if people like Sexyy Red cease to exist in our community. And no amount of fucking wearing 3-piece suits and going to church every Sunday is gonna change that shit. Because we can't feed into white supremacy, and we need to really examine how these social structures are forcing us to police each other on some dumbass shit and hold ourselves back as a collective.
In turn, black hip-hop feminists have called for disrespectability politics as a potential space for black women to gain full humanity. Disrespectability politics are the places where black women live, in between disses and respect. Cooper 2012, where black women are challenging heteronormative sexual respiration and elitist social structure, all while negating their role as consumers, purveyors, and adapters of respectability.
And honestly, abiding by disrespectability politics is exactly how I think we should be moving through this white supremacist and anti-black world. Because as stated from the text that I've been using all throughout this part, and honestly, my favorite quote from the paper, respectability politics cannot save black women because we cannot use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. Which leads me to talk about why I even made this video in the first place and why I like and advocate so hard for someone like Sexyy Red, because honestly,
I'm rooting for everybody black. I am. Betting on black tonight.
As I end this video, I need to make something clear and put it in a way you really understand before I close my thoughts on the matter. If you aren't gonna protect a black woman like Sexyy Red, then you don't care about the black community. If you see a black woman get hit in the face with a fucking brick and decide to stand around and not do shit, then you don't care about the black community. If you won't protect and stand up for that black gay kid or that black trans kid that you see trying to figure out who they are inside, then you don't care about the black community. And I'ma always stand 10 toes down on this shit till the day that I die. And I'm not saying that you have to listen to or like Sexyy Red. I'm not saying that if you don't listen to the subculture or rap that she makes, that it somehow makes you anti-black. I'm not saying any of those things. But what I will say though, is that we need to get off each other's necks and realize that it's getting us nowhere. Because I promise you that Sexyy Red isn't the reason why black women are hypersexualized and why negative systemic things happen to us as a people. And to be honest, we really need to stop doing this thing where we police black femme rappers into becoming more proper. Because that only enforces misogynoir and tells not only black women, but little black girls that it's only one way you can be a black woman. And that's just not true whatsoever. Because black people aren't a monolith. We come from different backgrounds, different experiences, different areas. So let's start acting like it. Let's stop trying to fit into this white supremacy society, respectability standards of living, and make the choice to free ourselves from these colonial social constructs. And even though y'all make it so hard sometimes, I'm talking like, god damn, y'all niggas make this shit so fucking difficult sometimes. I will still fight and advocate for all black people and our rights in this world. You know, even though I despise some of y'all, Candace Owens and Clarence Thomas, I will still fight for your and my rights. Cause Sexyy Red is ghetto and fancy. Her hair and her nails match her panties. She's sexy, looks like a piece of candy, and she will always be worthy of protection in my book. And we need to come together as a community and move beyond giving attention simply to black women's behaviors and bodies in order to examine the very structures and institutions that rule and govern not only black women's bodies, but black people as a whole. And shit, you know what I'm saying? I had to drop a goddamn bar or two before I dip out, because honestly, I said all that I need to say. So, stay safe out here. Bump Sexyy Red while going to your local Aldi in your bonnet, pajamas, and Crocs. And have a good day. Yo, thank you so much for watching this video, subscribing to the channel, supporting the channel in general, and bro, extra shout out to my Patreons. Like, y'all niggas are the real ones, you feel what I'm saying? And also, don't forget to check out my Atlas VPN deal in the link in my description down below, because I was being so dead ass when I say that I have to pay for textbooks to gain access to my assignments. Like, I can't do the fucking assignments without paying for the textbook, which is the dumbest shit ever. But you know, we love America, right? Love this country. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, don't forget to check that out. Please consider subscribing to the Patreon, subscribing to the channel, sharing this video to others, and yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one very soon. By the way, very soon. All right, peace.